A Christmas gift turned into war against a retail giant. I'm just a regular guy. Married, father of a 9-year-old, and like many families, we were doing our best to make Christmas feel magical. My wife and I are both on disability, which means the holidays aren't just stressful, they're a budgeting battlefield. Every euro is counted, every gift carefully chosen. And this past Christmas, we wanted to get our son something special, something that would light up his face and give him joy long after the wrapping paper was gone. So we picked a football rebounder. You know, one of those trampoline-like nets where a kid kicks the ball and it comes flying back. For a little boy obsessed with football, it was perfect. We ordered it from a well-known UK sports retailer, one that operates in both the UK and Ireland. We even made sure to use their Irish website, thinking it would avoid any cross-border nonsense. It was a straightforward online order. Nothing shady, no third-party sellers, just a regular checkout on what looked like a local reputable site. Got the confirmation, the payment went through, and everything seemed fine. No warnings, no extra fees, no red flags. Just a parent doing their best to make Christmas morning sparkle. At the time, we had no idea that this innocent little purchase would ignite a full-scale battle with a corporate giant, one that would drag on for days and expose just how little some companies care about their customers until they're publicly embarrassed. But that war hadn't started yet. At that moment, we were just two exhausted parents, feeling good about the gift we'd chosen. It was one less thing to worry about, or so we thought. A few days later, the buzz of holiday prep was in full swing when my wife got a message. It was from a courier company, the kind with brown uniforms, claiming we owed nearly $50 in customs fees for a delivery. At first, we both laughed it off. We've ordered enough over the years to know that these kinds of texts often scream scam. Besides, Christmas shopping was done. There wasn't anything left we were waiting on, especially not something that would be coming from overseas. Still, something didn't sit right. We double-checked our order history just to be sure. And that's when it hit us. The only package unaccounted for was the football rebounder. Confused, my wife picked up the phone and called the sports retailer's customer service. After some back and forth, they admitted the truth. The item had shipped from the UK, not Ireland, and passed through a local courier before being handed over to the brown uniformed guys. And just like that, a supposedly local purchase turned into a cross-border import. One that came with a nearly $50 customs fee we had never agreed to, never been warned about, and certainly didn't budget for. For a family on a fixed income, especially during the holidays, that amount isn't just inconvenient, it's painful. But we didn't want to disappoint our son. We didn't want him waking up on Christmas morning and wondering why Santa didn't come through, so we paid it. My wife covered the charge, and I told her not to worry. I'd handle the company. I wasn't looking for a fight, I just wanted what was fair. After all, under Irish consumer law, any additional charges must be clearly stated before the purchase is completed. And not once, not during checkout, not in the confirmation email, did they mention this fee. Not even a hint. That made it not just unfair, it made it illegal. The next morning, I rolled up my sleeves and got to work. I wasn't looking to argue. I just wanted someone to listen, someone with the authority to do the right thing. I figured a quick call would sort it out. Maybe they'd refund the customs fee. Maybe they'd offer a proper explanation. I'd worked in a call center before. I knew how the system worked. Be patient, be polite, and speak to someone who can actually fix the issue. But that turned out to be wishful thinking. The first call started promising enough. Polite rep, standard apologies. But it ended with a 20-minute hold, followed by a promise of a callback that never came. Fine, I tried again. Same result. Long hold, no solution, no manager, just the hollow reassurance that someone will be in touch. By the third call, I wasn't just annoyed. I was getting angry. 3 attempts, 3 separate reps, and still no resolution. Each time I had to explain everything all over again, like Groundhog Day with worse hold music. I asked, again, to speak with a supervisor. I made it clear I wasn't looking to vent. I just wanted my $50 back. But even that simple request seemed like too much to ask. I stayed calm, even as my patience thinned. I didn't curse, didn't yell, but I made sure they knew I wasn't going away. And yet, once again, all I got was, someone will contact you. That someone never did. That's when I realized they weren't just ignoring me. They were hoping I'd go away, hoping I'd let it slide because it was just $50. But what they didn't realize, what they always underestimate, is that when you back a decent person into a corner, especially during Christmas, especially when their child is involved, you don't get silence. You get fire. On day 3, I wasn't just calling for a refund. I was calling to draw a line. No more polite patience. No more waiting for callbacks that never came. This time, I was prepared. I had checked the law, screenshotted their checkout process, and tested the website again. I even simulated a fresh purchase of the same item to see if anything had changed. And guess what? Still no warning. No alert about potential customs fees. Not even in the fine print. Nothing. According to Irish consumer law, that made their practice not just sneaky, it made it a breach of my rights. When I finally got a rep back on the line, I laid it all out. I explained the law. I explained the lack of transparency. I explained how I had proof that at no point were we told about additional charges. I wasn't being unreasonable, I was being exact. The response? He offered me a $20 gift voucher, a measly €20 coupon to use on their website, after I'd already been forced to shell out €50 we hadn't planned to spend. And then he read me some pre-written statement about delivery duty unpaid charges possibly applying to international shipments. I stopped him mid-sentence. Where does it say that? I asked. There was a pause, long enough to be awkward. I don't know, he admitted. That was it. The final insult. Not only had they hit us with a hidden fee, but now they were hiding behind policies they couldn't even point to. I told the rep, calmly but firmly, that they had one last chance to make this right. Not tomorrow. Not next week. I want your manager to call me within the next 60 minutes, I said, or I'm going to take this public, and I will tag every senior officer in your company while I do it. Then I hung up and waited, and of course, the phone stayed silent. They called my bluff, and that was their biggest mistake, because when I said I'd go public, I meant it. I wasn't bluffing, I wasn't empty threat angry. I was calm, calculated, and done being ignored. So I logged onto LinkedIn, took a deep breath, and began crafting a post that would become a very public declaration of war. I laid everything out: the hidden fees, the deceptive checkout process, the broken promises of callbacks, and the laughable $20 voucher they offered as a bandage for their mistake. But I didn't stop there. I tagged them. Not just the company, I tagged every senior officer I could find, regional managers, European directors, right up to the CEO. And I didn't just call them out, I shamed them. I asked how a company could operate this way, especially during the holidays. I reminded them that we weren't just a customer service case. We were a real family, scraping by on disability, trying to make Christmas work for our kid. I made it personal because it was personal. And the post? It started to take off. People noticed. Not just random users either. 3 anonymous views appeared on my LinkedIn profile. You know the ones. LinkedIn member in incognito mode. No names, no titles. But I wasn't born yesterday. I knew exactly who those viewers were, so I took screenshots of those profile visits and added them to my post. Looks like someone's watching, I wrote. But still no phone call. Funny how you've got time to stalk but not to solve the problem. Then something strange happened. The rebounder, the exact item we ordered, disappeared from their website. They were trying to hide it, as if scrubbing the product page would somehow erase what they did. But I wasn't done. I searched rebounder on their site and saw it still came up in the product list, even though the individual page now showed an error. Then I ran a Google cache search and found the original product page from just 2 days earlier, so I screenshotted all of it. The item in the store listings, the blanked out product page, the cached version proving it was there, and then I added those to my LinkedIn post too. This was no longer just about $50. This was about accountability. Once that post started gaining traction, I could almost hear the gears turning inside their corporate offices, the scramble, the panic, the damage control, because while they weren't replying to me directly, they were definitely watching and trying, in their own quiet, clumsy way, to erase the evidence. First came the disappearing act, the rebounder. The same product that had triggered this whole mess vanished from their website. Not a sold-out notice, not a back in stock soon, just gone, as if it had never existed. They must have thought I wouldn't notice, or maybe they thought I didn't know how to dig. But I've been on the internet long enough to know one simple truth: nothing ever really disappears. So I went to work. I searched for rebounder in their store's search bar, and sure enough, there it was. Still listed, just without a functioning product page. Then I jumped on Google and did a cached search. 2 clicks later, I had the full product page exactly as it had appeared 2 days prior. Price, description, SKU, all still live on the back end. I took screenshots of everything, the listing still appearing, the blank product page, the cached version proving they had tried to scrub it, and then I went back to LinkedIn and dropped it all into the comments under my original post. Trying to hide the item now? I wrote, too late. You've already been caught. And once again, I tagged the senior team. All of them. From directors to executives to department heads. I wasn't shouting into the void anymore. I was dragging them into the spotlight. Not with rage, with receipts. And the post kept growing. More views, more comments, more attention. People were sharing it, engaging, asking questions. It wasn't just a complaint anymore. It was a public case study in how not to handle your customers. Then came the cherry on top. Remember those 3 mysterious LinkedIn member profile views I mentioned earlier? I posted about them too. I said, hey, I see you. Feel free to reach out anytime instead of lurking. It was petty. It was pointed. And it was deserved. Because what they hadn't realized, what so many corporations never seem to grasp, is that one quiet customer can suddenly become very loud when pushed far enough. And that noise was about to get results. The next morning, my phone rang. Not a scam call. Not a courier. A senior executive from the company's UK head office was on the line. And she sounded like she was calling from a house that was on fire. Her voice was full of apologies, urgent, nervous. She said she'd seen my LinkedIn post, that it had been escalated, that they took it seriously. You don't say, she asked me almost pleadingly, what she could do to make things right. I'll be honest, at that point, I had already won. The post had gone viral enough to make them squirm, but I also remembered what this whole mess had cost us. Not just $50, but time, stress, frustration, and worst of all, a holiday season nearly derailed over a company's indifference. So I told her plainly, I originally just wanted my $50 back, but now? You ignored me for days. You dismissed me. You tried to hide the problem. So now I want the $50 refunded. I want the entire purchase refunded, and I want to keep the product. That's the only way this goes away. She paused. Then, she said she needed a couple of hours to see what she could do. I said, take your time. I'll wait. Less than an hour later, she called back. Her tone had shifted. Not just apologetic, almost deferential. She said she had spoken to the necessary departments, and here's what they were doing. She was sending $50 directly to my PayPal. She was issuing a full refund on the original purchase, and we could keep the football rebounder. No return required. She even thanked me for bringing this to their attention. At that moment, I thanked her too. Not because I was grateful for their sudden generosity, but because I knew something she didn't. They hadn't done this to make it right. They did it to shut me up, and that's fine, because either way, we won. We got our money back, we kept the gift. And most importantly, we didn't let them walk all over us. In the end, this wasn't just about a $50 customs charge. It wasn't even about a football rebounder. It was about a system that counted on people staying quiet. A company that thought they could slip hidden fees through the cracks, shrug off accountability, and hope their customers wouldn't notice, or wouldn't bother fighting back. But they picked the wrong customer. I'm just one man. I don't have a legal team. I don't have a platform or a PR agency. I have a wife, a son, and a very real understanding of how much $50 means to a family living on a fixed income, especially at Christmas. And let me tell you something. My son's view of Santa, his belief in something magical during a time of year that should feel warm and safe, that matters more to me than a company's public image. So when they tried to sweep us aside, I pushed back, not with rage, with facts, not with insults, with evidence, not with silence, with a voice they couldn't ignore. They thought they could bury the problem, hide the product page, bury the complaint in endless hold music. But what they got was a storm they never saw coming. A father who refused to be dismissed and a LinkedIn post that reached the boardroom before their customer service team ever did. And in the end, they didn't just refund me. They learned a lesson. Sometimes the quietest customers have the loudest impact. So here's the real takeaway. The thing I hope sticks with anyone listening. Don't let anyone, no matter how big or powerful, trample over your rights, because sometimes all it takes is one voice, one post, and one very determined dad to remind a corporate giant what accountability really looks like.
The case has been heard. The stories have been told. Now it's your turn to judge. Leave your verdict in the comments. Like, share, and subscribe. The Court of Stories is always in session.